So, good afternoon, folks. Welcome to another IATEFL Live. Hopefully, you joined us yesterday when we met the first of our plenary speakers, and we're continuing that in today's live stream when we're going to meet two more of the Harrogate 2023 plenary speakers, and they'll be coming up very shortly. Hi, my name's Sean. If you watch our live streams regularly, you'll know me. I'm one of the trustees of IATEFL, and I've been abandoned by John today because he's actually gone to Harrogate to do a site visits. So hopefully he'll be reporting back everything is going well there. So this is one of the live streams that we're doing this month on the plenary speakers, and obviously Harrogate is getting closer. Just to remind you, if you do not know yet, then the IATEFL conference is being held from the 18th to the 21st of April in Harrogate, and the day before you will be able to take part in the pre-conference events, and we'll talk a little bit more about the pre-conference events later, because we're also today going to be joined by Rob from BSIG, who's going to tell us a little bit about their event. So we've as I said, we're doing this live stream to talk about the plenary speakers. There are 5 plenary speakers at this year's IATEFL. Yesterday, we met Ophelia, and she was telling us all about translanguaging. Really interesting to hear about that and the concept of translanguaging. And if you missed that talk, you should be able to see in the Facebook feed. If you go down a couple of posts, you should be able to see the recording of that talk yesterday. And if you are watching this recording, hi, if you've got any questions, anything that comes up during this live stream as you're watching the recording, pop it into the comment box. We do watch the comment box for 24 hours, especially after the recording, so you can put it in there. Yesterday, in a strange order, we met the Friday morning plenary speaker. Today, we're going to meet the Thursday morning plenary speaker and the Friday afternoon plenary speaker. And because I think it's better to get more voices in, let's bring back Georgia from the IATEFL team. Hi, Georgia.
Hello, Sean, and hello, everybody watching from home. Sean, I must say I'm very jealous.
Why?
Of John.
Because he's gone to Harrogate.
In Harrogate at our conference venue.
Yeah.
He must be jealous because we have got amazing speakers with us today, so I'm really excited.
We have, yes, and we'll get them on screen in a moment. So just to remind everybody, as I said, we're doing a course of 4 live streams over February with the speakers. Tomorrow, I'm so used to doing them tomorrow. Next week, next Tuesday at 2 UK 2 GMT time, we'll be meeting Evan. And actually, hi Evan, I've just seen you popped up in the comments box there. So Evan is talking to us next Tuesday, and then at the end of the month on the 28th we'll be meeting the final plenary speaker. Divya will be meeting us then. So Georgia, we've got a packed little show because we've got 2 speakers. So shall I bring on Lesley and let's meet Lesley. Lesley, welcome to the stream. Georgia, I'll let you go with it.
Thank you so much, and Lesley, welcome to IATEFL Live.
It's lovely to see you. It's great. I'm here in New York, and I was saying to Sean, it's freezing. So it's good to see your warm spirit.
Oh, thank you very much. So, Lesley, welcome to our show. My first question to you, and this is for everybody watching from home who's not familiar with your work really, is can you tell us a few things about your journey in ELT?
Okay, ELT. Well, I started teaching a few years ago. I don't think we need to go into that. And I think I did the typical trajectory. I did a CELTA, which at the time was an IRSA certificate. I went to Portugal for a while. I stayed in Europe for a while. I then moved to South Korea and taught for the British Council for a few years, then Hong Kong, and then ended up working for International House Poland. Dotted around Europe again for a little bit, and then came to New York as a teacher trainer. And I've been here for about 20 years now.
Oh, lovely. So I have read in your bio that one of the areas that you've been focusing on is teaching using new trends.
Yes.
So what would you say are some of the new trends?
Well, actually, Ophelia is going to talk about those a little bit more. But, certainly, the thing that she talked about yesterday, translanguaging, is very much something that we've looked at in the ESOL context, as well as I'm sure she'll talk about K through 12. So that's one thing. But then, of course, technology, and particularly in ESOL, things like Google Translate, translation apps, phones, the use of phones in classrooms. Do they support? Do they hinder? Are they a burden for teachers? And kind of embracing the new types of technology that can help support our students outside the classroom as well as inside the classroom. So those are the kind of things that I've been looking at over the last few years. I particularly am at the moment focusing on teaching beginners because that tends to be the groups that I get. We call them 0-1s here. And so thinking about ways to really help and support students to learn English as quickly as they can, especially because they're trying to function here with children in school, and obviously integrate into the New York culture as much as they possibly can.
Absolutely. And I think that this is one of the challenges, isn't it? To not only teach the language, but also involve the culture as well.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, two things, bring culture into the classroom, but then also celebrate the cultures that we have within in the classroom, and really make sure that we're teaching in a culturally what we call sustainable way, that it's not a deficit mindset, it's an asset mindset of who have we got in our classroom and sort of rich dynamics that we have. How can we use those and embrace them? And as I said, celebrate them to ensure that the students feel as comfortable and as welcomed as they possibly can be.
So I've read in your work that you also focus on reflective practice in teaching and international mindedness.
Yes.
Can you tell us a few things about this?
Right. So it's really thinking about how we can educate people, especially younger learners, differently. So rather than thinking of each culture being very, very different and every country being very, very different and not having any connections between, say, me and somebody in Hong Kong and then Australia, changing that mindset to think more about connectedness. How are we connected? How do borders work within a classroom? And making sure that we, as much as possible, eradicate the idea of other. Obviously, it's always going to be there. It's a concept that's just within our DNA. We see somebody and they're different. And so naturally, we assume that difference means lots of different things. But really trying to prevent that and make sure that we do see other people, we see differences, but we, as I said, celebrate. And international mindedness is something that's very much in international schools right now, K through 12, or sort of any student below the age of 16. We're really looking at, as I said, educating in a different way to think less about differences and more about connections.
I've also seen that you have worked a lot and volunteer as a teacher to immigrants and refugees.
Yes.
So what are some of the challenges that ESOL teachers face when teaching in similar contexts? And what advice would you have for them?
Right. Okay. So I think there are many challenges when you walk into an ESOL classroom, mainly because of the students that you've got in front of you and the experiences that they've had. So you've said quite a big swathe of people. Is it that they are forced migrants? Is it that they are just immigrants, people who've moved here maybe for economic reasons, asylum seekers and refugees? So as you can imagine, with all of those different types of students, they bring to the classroom different experiences. Some of them not very good, some of them traumatic, some of them, with different sort of educational backgrounds, maybe interrupted education, what we call broken education, unfinished education. So as an ESOL teacher, you are trying to do a lot of different things, I think. One of the things that you have to really contemplate is how these students are situated within the bigger context, i.e., in my case, in New York. And certainly over the last few years, we've all seen it, the anti-immigrant rhetoric, which is outside our classroom all the time. The students see it. So as a teacher, we really have to think, how do we ensure that students do feel like that they belong? They do feel like they are valued. And yes, there are these, this rhetoric around us, but we can ensure confidence, ensure agency in our classrooms. So there's definitely a linguistic component to our classes, like there is in any English language teaching. We want our students to learn English. We want them to learn, the grammar, the vocabulary and everything. But there's another side to it of thinking about belonging, integration, as I said, this kind of animosity that they might feel in other places, how they can best thrive in a new country, try and settle, get the job that they want, educate their children, navigate the educational system here, which is extremely complicated. So it's a kind of an all-round way of teaching in a way, right? It's a lot of different things all coming together. And I think my experience has been, because I started in 1997 working in this context, is connect first and then think about content. So work with our students first, see where they're situated. As much as you can, learn their narrative. What is their story? Because we've all got them. And that's a very valuable piece of who we are. Can I understand and empathize with their identity, which is often changing? And how can I appreciate the kind of experiences that they've had that have led them to this country, led them to my classroom, and then, as I said, help them to build what life they then want to.
Absolutely. I agree with you that when we connect as humans and we humanize the learning aspect, then there is more investment from both sides as well, because we understand each other better.
Yeah, excellent. Exactly right. So I'll just give you an example. So at the moment, as I said, I'm teaching beginners, and one of my students is called Carlos, and I've had him in my class only for about 3 weeks, and he is wonderful. He's trying so hard, but he's been in this country for 20 years and he's a beginner. So right there, you can kind of wonder what's happened, wonder why. And I have spoken to him a few times in Spanish to try and say, it took you some time. And there's just been a lot of reasons why he didn't feel comfortable getting into a classroom. He didn't feel accepted. He hadn't completed his education in his home country. So he didn't feel that he really deserved a type of education. And slowly by slowly, I'm getting to understand what his needs are. And then out of the blue, because I guess we've got to know one another, he told me about his border crossing. And in this country, border crossings we know they're the southern border, right? Most of you have seen it on the news. He walked from Peru to this country. And I've heard these stories so many times, but I always have to stop and think, I cannot imagine what would make me walk to a different country in such terrible terrain. And he talked about it a little bit, and it's just something that is part of him. And we have to understand that this is a valuable piece that he wants to share, and as much as we can, lift him up, right? But this is the connection. That's making the connection.
This is an incredible story. Yeah. Which brings me to the next question, which is about a sneak peek into the plenary, really. So the title of your plenary is Sharing Words and Worlds.
Yeah.
So can you give us a sneak peek without revealing too much?
Yeah, I might reveal too much. I'm not sure. But basically, the title, Sharing Words and Worlds, came out of all of my experiences working in the ESOL field, as I said, from 1997. And most of the teaching I've ever done in this field has been volunteer, because when I came to this country, I actually was a CELTA trainer. And that's what exposed me to free classes, students needing free education. And that's how I kind of rolled into ESOL. So I want to talk a little bit about that, particularly focusing on a few students that have led me to two particular areas. One is the sort of key constructs that we need within an ESOL classroom. And you've mentioned one of them. It is reflexive, but also how do we design a relevant and responsive curriculum for our students? So understanding what their needs are, interpreting them. It might not necessarily be a course, but we might need to do a lot of different things to understand what they need in terms, as I said, to thrive within this country. But then also reflexive. Now, by reflexive, I mean that as teachers, we understand how we're situated within our students and how our own situation is then important, because it obviously informs how we teach. And thinking about that, so those would be one of my areas that I want to talk about. Turned into a course that I wrote for an MA program that I used to work in, and it was called Shared Words and Worlds. And it's about the narrative that our learners have and these connections that we make, and how we ourselves share our own story, so that by learning languages together, because often I find through using first languages in the classroom, you get to understand the students, you hear their stories, you share your stories, and before we know it, our worlds are being shared. So I hope to elucidate on that a lot more without giving the game away.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I would like to say that I hope I'm not too nervous. But yeah.
So what are you most looking forward to in this year's conference?
Oh, everything. IATEFL conference is just I've been going for decades. It's just such a great place to network, to learn, to share ideas, to meet old friends, find new friends. I think IATEFL has got a very special place for most ELT teachers. And I think every teacher should come to the conference once, if not every year. But I think it's a very great time to just constantly move yourself forward. Every year, I have been teaching for a good few years now. And every year I gain so much new knowledge. I feel energized. I walk away going, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I've always got like 10 different projects afterwards. So I'm looking forward to walking away with a ton of new information and a good few new friends.
Lovely.
And I'm sure you will. Once you got the nerves of the plenary out the way, and then you can relax. And
I wish I wasn't Thursday. I'll talk to Evan about
two days to build up for it. I'm sure it would be great. You're absolutely right, though. I mean, it's funny you say energized of IATEFL, because the conference is energizing, but it's also exhausting. I mean,
in a good way.
In a very good way, yes.
Yeah.
And as I said yesterday, Harrogate is my favourite venue, so I'm very much looking forward to us all being there.
I just want to say one other thing, because I just realised, just the expo hall though as well. You know, seeing the new publications. I mean, it is a way that, you know, I'm out here in New York, which I know is a big place, but you know, you're always quite isolated as teachers sometimes, and it's just great to say, oh, I didn't realize that was out, or new stuff. That's what I want.
Yes, I think Georgia and I are very much looking forward to the Expo Hall this year, because that's where our base is going to be. We're actually going to have the live studio within the exhibition. So people will be avoiding us and looking at books while they go around. Anyway, if you want to, if Lesley has whetted your appetite for her plenary, as she said, it is the Thursday of IATEFL, Thursday morning. You will need to be in Harrogate at 9 a.m. on Thursday, the 20th, I guess it is, of April to see that plenary. And we are all very much looking forward to that and finding about the word and worlds. Thank you so much, Lesley. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you again face to face in a few weeks' time. I'm going to drop you out the stream now. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the cold in New York.
Come and support.
See you in Harrogate.
Bye.
Georgia, I'll give you a break for a moment. So we'll be back with the next plenary speaker in a moment. One I'm particularly looking forward to, just because when you read the blurb, if you've looked at the blurb for the next speaker we're talking about, it begins with the question: do people know that race works like a language? And I sat there and had to think about that for a long time. So I'm looking forward very much to learning more about that in a moment when we meet him. But before we do that, let's talk about the day before the conference starts. So we talked about the conference itself, and we just met one of the plenary speakers. But the day before the conference begins, there is always the pre-conference events, one of which Lesley's involved in as well, or Hersig with it. But these are the pre-conference events, and these take place on the day before the conference, so the 17th of April. They're almost like one-day mini conferences in themselves. So when you're signing up or you're deciding to register for the conference, you could choose to come to one of these events as well. And hopefully over the next few live streams, we'll meet a few of the people putting together their pre-conference events. And we're going to begin that with someone who has been on the live stream before, I think, and someone I know very well and always pleased to see. So Rob, welcome to the stream. So this is Rob Howard. For those of you who don't know him, he's got BSIG written after his name, which of course is the Business English Special Interest Group. He's very much on brand, and I do like the way he's managed to get the title of his SIGS PCE on the screen as well. Rob, tell me about practical takeaways for Business English. Tell me about your event.
Well, thanks, Sean. And our PCE, we're very excited this year because what we're going to do is practical takeaways, which actually we've renamed PCE to practical content for everybody. And we're going to start off with 8 speakers from different backgrounds and cultures and do something a little different. Each one will do a 20-minute presentation session for activities for your classroom. We're going to do, if you watch on social media, we're teasing every day. We're going to do things like improving skills for teamwork, transferable skills, mentoring, interaction, intercultural, progress checking, autonomous writing. And this will be the first part of the day. In the afternoon, we're going to change PCE over to peer collaboration exchange. And what this will do is you, as an attendee, are going to get together in different groups, and you're actually going to develop your own ideas with like-minded professionals and come up with your own activities for the group. So we're really excited about this, really interactive, and we've got a nice big room so we can get a lot of you in there. And
it sounds like quite a different take. I mean, in these lots of little talks, little activity talks for BSIG, I think, to do a PCE.
Yeah, something new and different. And we think that listening to the people over the years, what everybody's always looking for is what can I use in my class Monday morning? And, rather than theoretical talks and, doing large, course things that you do for the entire year, we want to give you something practical that you can take home, use it as it is, develop it as your own, and, really help your students out. So it's something new and different for us. And, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and also, as you said, very collaborative. I think. So if there are 8 speakers plus guides, so I'm going to be, if I attended, I'm going to get at least 10 practical takeaways. I worked that out as. Is that right? 10 things that I can do on Monday morning. At least 9.
Actually, and if you can, there will be 10 takeaways because you may take away a mug.
You may take the mug. The mugs are very nice. Are they new?
Yeah. I've got one for you, Sean.
Oh, have you? Oh, there you go. Always put those in. Put that little thing out there. So, if people want to know more about the PCE, obviously they go to the IATEFL. They go to the IATEFL conference page, which we keep putting across the bottom of the screen. If you're watching the recording, then you're probably on Facebook. Then I would also suggest, therefore, you look at the B6 Facebook page, which, as Rob said, I've been watching the teasing things coming out on there with you. So I would suggest that's a good place for people to find out more.
Exactly. Everything will be there. We'll be putting up in probably the next week or so on our website. We'll start putting up who the speakers are and the full abstracts. But in the meantime, we're just teasing away. So
tease away. So if you have been teased and you want to know more, then go. So you can go and find out about all the PCEs at the IATEFL conference website. But if you want to find out more about B6 in particular, I would suggest going. As I said, find their Facebook page. They are very active on their page, so there's always a lot of information for you to look at. A lot of things in there. I am sure.
bsig.org.
bsig.org. There you go. Robbie's a very good salesman. Remember, that is the 17th of April. Let me put them on the stream. Just to remind you that there are quite a number of events. If you do watch the live streams regularly or the recordings, you'll see some of the other SIGs coming in to talk about theirs as we go through. Just a reminder that they're all there. But if the BSIG one takes your interest, go find out more about it and then go sign up for the 17th of April. And again, I say, if you're watching the recording and you have any questions, then find Rob on social media. He will always gladly answer them. Rob, thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing Harrogate. See you soon. Enjoy that coffee mug. Georgia, shall we meet another of the speakers?
Yes, please. I cannot wait.
I know. I just kind of like say it. Just I no disrespect. I know 3 out of the 5 speakers seen and talked before. I had not met Ophelia before, but I know her work. But this one for me, I always like the person that is not quite ELT and brings something in. And I just this the blurb really excites me. I say the fact it begins with that question and the fact it ends with the word is pretty cool. So let's find out more about the person who's going to close IATEFL for us. Awad, thank you very much for finding time for us today. I'm going to leave you in the hands of Georgia, and as you can see, we're slightly excited to find out more about what you're actually going to talk about.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sean. Awad, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. And I'm actually coming to you and everyone else out of space. You know, that's my daughter's decoration, and she said it's her room, which is my office, but it's her room. So
because I thought that you were based in Canada.
Yes, I am, and I'm really interested in what Lesley had to say about New York. If New York is cold, then I am in Ottawa, where it was. I think last week it was minus 47 Celsius. Okay, frostbite, 1 minute.
Excellent. I will never complain about the -2 that we had today in Cambridge.
I know. So,
it's a pleasure to see you. Now, for the people watching us from home, now I'm not going to ask you about your journey in ELT, but I'm going to ask you about your journey in education.
Yeah. No, I am connected to ELT in some shape or form, as my background is linguistics, so I did do French as my major, and I studied Latin and a little bit of Spanish, Italian, and so I'm very well connected to that. I taught mostly ELT, but not even ESL, but FSL, so it's French as second language. So that's where I come in. And my journey is I was born and grew up in the Sudan, which is the East Africa mostly, and then I for a lot of reasons, personal as well as political reasons, I found myself in a journey of displacement in North America, namely in Canada, where I did a couple of masters. And then, and actually one of them was Didactique des langues secondes, which is second language education overall. And my PhD was related directly to curriculum, cultural studies, and connected somehow to the topic that I'm addressing here, which is the question of identity and language. And I'm taking race as an example here, which is what I will be talking about, but it can be applied to other categories such as sexuality, gender, and so on and so forth. So, yeah.
So while I was reading your bio, I realized that you have got a lot of research on many different areas, such as race, hip hop, youth studies, languages. What would you say is the common factor in all of these areas?
There is the and I love what Lesley has to say about this, the question of identity. I think that's the kernel for me. That's the one thing that to it I bring all other elements, be it language, race and culture. And I love Leslie's as well talk about around this idea of New York culture, and this is exactly what I study is where is the person in the process? How do we form our identities in relation to culture, relation to language, in relation to, and so on and so forth. But I come to it ground up. And that's the unique work that I do. When I say ground up, that means I do ethnographic, I do kind of the daily performances of identities, and the play of language in relation to that. And this is what I will be in some shape or form I will be talking about in my final speech.
Now, before I ask you about your plenary, I want to ask you about the two different societies. So Lesley talked about New York.
Right.
How do the two different societies where you live and where Lesley lives, for example, differ?
Yeah, no, it's there's as you know, and this is one of the major argument that I'll be making is when it's not a cliche to say that the world is a small village, right? So even Americans and Canadians would sound alike, right? Very, very much so. So in this sense, there are some similarities, but there are also radical difference. Similarities is the sound, right? So you sound like it, and what I found really, really interesting is the most radical people are people who are speaking the same language. And so it's really interesting that, and this is a proposal, this is an idea that a food for thought for all of us. So sounding American and sounding Canadian, even though they may sound the same, but they culturally they are, and my work shows that they are radically different in how people think, how they walk, how they talk, and so on and so forth. So it's part of what I will also touch on a little bit. Looking forward to that one.
Oh, myself too, because when I was reading the summary of your plenary, you have got two quotes. And again, please don't reveal too much because I really want to come and enjoy the full plenary. So you mentioned, do people know that race works like a language?
Mm-hmm.
That was my favorite question. And while I was reading it, I kept thinking about it. I was on the bus and I kept thinking about it.
Yeah, see this is what I'm invoking, and in so many different ways provoking as well, is the thought, and I would be very, very curious about people's take on that question. I have my own proposal, I have my own research to show that race does work like a language. In fact, it is. That's my main argument. It is a form of language. It is a language that we speak. And I'm not going to give away, okay? So I'm just going to tease people so that they can come to my talk. But just think of it. It's almost to answer that question. I come back to it backward. So you have identities. But identities are they are performed in and formed in, both formed and performed in language. And so, if you think about it, that's where race comes in, you can apply this to sexuality, you can apply to gender. So the classic Simone de Beauvoir's notion that a woman is not born a woman. A woman is made a woman.
Mm.
So she speaks womanness. She speaks her womanhood through the ways in which she talks, she walks, she dresses, the makeup, and so on and so forth. All of these elements are performative or expressions of identities. But it's in the repetition of these performances we come to be who we are. So we become women, we become, racially, and so on and so forth. So that's a kind of a teaser. But along the way, it's the last day of the conference. I want to spice it up, so we will hear a little bit of music. You will find something provocative. I hope people do not know that I'm a spoken word poet myself, so I'm going to drop in there a few things. So, burn. We're going to burn the house, Georgia. We're going to burn the house.
Oh, this is amazing. I'm so looking forward to it. And the second reason why I'm looking forward to it, and that goes back to what you were saying about, about how our identity speaks, is another thing that you mentioned in the summary, is that race speaks, I am arguing, it speaks to us as much as we speak it. It speaks us as much as we speak it.
Yeah.
So you work with a lot of young people.
Yes.
So how do we see this in our young adults or in our young people in the new generation?
I love that question, because this is where I'm going to bring all of this discussion back to education, and particularly to second language. I'm actually going to show in concrete ways a major argument that I'll be putting forth, and I hope it looks like I'm giving way too much here, but I'm arguing that our ESL students are not learning English in our classes. So the question then is, what are we doing as ESL teachers? So this is where I'm going to bring in the cultural element on the one hand, but pop culture in particular, technology, and I'm going to show you concrete examples of what the kids were able to do with the particularly pop culture, the impact of pop culture in their linguistic expression, and even how they walk and talk, and particularly how they talk. And I'm going to do a little bit of phonetic analysis here. So it's just really interesting. I'm going to bring everything back to us as ESL teachers, and I'm going to show you concrete examples of things that we could actually, by implication, what we can do as after having this broad discussion. I don't want to leave it as a theoretical discussion, but I'm also going to bring it back to our field as well.
Wonderful. So you know that I'm really looking forward to you and the conference in general. What is something that you most look forward to in the conference?
I actually, my mom, when she wants to do something really she loves, and she didn't get the chance to do it, so she goes like this. I can't believe it will be my first time. I've done a little bit of homework at IATEFL, and I've been to many conferences before related to TESOL and TEFL and so on and so forth. But I haven't been to IATEFL before, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You're doing it. Like, it's amazing. Like, there's so much in there. And we just heard Rob, we just heard Lesley, and what they have to do and what they're doing. And I think this mixture of the theoretical work and just global understanding of what is it that we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing, yes. But also to the minute details of what we can actually do in our classrooms. So practical things. But I also don't want to leave people that there is this distinction between theory and practice. I don't want to. I think it's a false dichotomy, and we're definitely over that one. But because the theoretical, in other words, the understanding of why am I doing what I'm doing? What's the purpose behind it? What do I want to achieve behind it? These are theoretical questions, but it's not theoretical in the sense of Plato and Socrates and so on and so forth. No. These are theorized questions. Theorized. So I no longer think theory. I think theorizing. So it's always you need to think about what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. And I love what Rob has to say about this, and I'm really looking forward to his session and Leslie's session as well. So we need to kind of bridge that gap between the theory and practice in so many different ways. And this is where this is something I am really looking forward to. And Harrogate, it's my first time. I know.
I cannot wait to meet you.
Wow, I just like I think even if you just have to come to my session and Leslie's session and Rob's session, you can spend the rest of your time.
Let me speak to my boss.
No. She's got to work, so I'll let her come to your session.
I didn't mean.
But while you're hopefully going to enjoy all the sessions that you're attending and presenting, but also you've got to make time for Harrogate as well, because Harrogate is a beautiful
I'm
place.
So looking forward to it.
So. And as we said to Ophelia yesterday, if you're in Harrogate, you've got to go for tea. So make sure you've got some tea on. My appetite is thoroughly whet, and as Peter said in the comments as going through, very much looking forward to Awad's plenary. I think everybody now is anyway. If they weren't before, they're just what you've described. If you want a sneak peek, I did have a quick look on Google Scholar, and Awad does have a number of papers on there. So if you do want to find out more about his language work or whatever, you could go and look on there. But don't spoil your appetite for the plenary, which will be the one that I believe he's just said he's going to burn the house down. But I would say it's going to bring the house down. The final plenary of IATEFL 2023 will be presented by Awad, and it sounds like it's going to be an amazing mix of cultural reference, of theory, of pop music, of poetry. And I think it sounds like it's really going to be a fabulous way to close Harrogate 2023. I think both Georgia and I have become like little excited kids listening and talking to you, Awad. So thank you very much for your time. I know that you had a busy schedule, so fitting it in, even from outer space, we appreciate. And we'll see you in not too many weeks in Harrogate. So safe journey, and we'll see you back then. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And goodbye for now. Wow, it's so interesting, isn't it, Georgia? It's kind of all of them. I mean, I always enjoy the plenary speakers anyway, but even like what Lesley had to say about the different worlds. What I was talking about there, that question about race and language, I think we'll have to we'll get on the WhatsApp group and discuss it for the next few weeks, I think. Yes. So just to remind everybody, if you're not already there, we're doing a series of live streams this month where we're meeting the plenary speakers. We've met over the course of the last 2 days. We met 3 of them. If you have joined us late or you're watching the recording, in this recording you will have met Lesley, you will have met Awad, and if you missed it yesterday in our social media channel on the Facebook page, you should be able to find the talk with Ophelia yesterday when she was explaining what translanguaging is and how it works. And actually, I just again some incredibly interesting perceptions on how it affects us in the classroom. Next Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we have the person that's going to open the conference, and Evan will be joining us, and we'll be talking with Evan about English for the workplace, his role. He's been around with IATEFL for many years, and a little bit about him, and then to bring to an end this series where we're meeting the plenary speakers, we'll meet Divya on the 28th of February at 2 o'clock GMT as well. Just to remind everybody that, of course, as we had in the middle, that we talk about the conference. I'll put the conference slide up first. We talk about the conference being the 18th to the 21st. So Awad will be on the 21st. Lesley's on the 20th. It's trying to remember when everybody is. And finally, the day before that, we've got the pre-conference events, and we heard Rob talking about that earlier on. If you do have any questions or about the conference, about anything, and you're watching the recording of this, then just drop a comment into wherever you're watching the recording. We'll hopefully see it and get back to you. I have put the links to the conference website in those places, so you'll be able to see it there. But Georgia, thank you so much for your time again. Interesting afternoon's work. So we'll see you again next week, next Tuesday, the 14th. What else would you rather do on Valentine's Day than come to an IATEFL live? So we'll see you then, and we'll meet our next plenary speaker. But for now, have a good rest of the day wherever you are. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to you joining us again at the next IATEFL live. Goodbye for now.